Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower Your Mind for Success podcast, a podcast for anyone who wants to build an entrepreneurial mindset. This is Anish Verma, your podcast host. So, the last couple of days, actually, the entire week, we have been talking about, finding your purpose in life by trying to identify your passions and trying to get into a 30-day challenge of reading books, listening to podcasts, or watching some motivational videos, whatever you are what you're very comfortable with, and kind of documenting your learnings from those things and doing it every day. And while you're doing that, trying to think of what brand, what eminence you want to build, what expertise, what mastery you want to build. Now, this is these steps are simple, but what we are trying to test is whether you can form a ritual, a habit, a discipline to do something on a daily basis. Why? Because success is a result of doing things every day. You may not be able to do a lot, but you got to do something every day. Now, we all understand that we are either working for someone else, or we have our own traditional business and we are trying to make monies online in with the eventual dream of achieving financial freedom, right? That is why we are having this discussion. We are trying to figure out things together on this podcast. But the idea is to execute first. Start your execution. Your strategy is that you want to build a business. Now, you don't know what kind of business it is as yet, because we first want to identify your passions and then align your strengths through a personality test towards those passions, and then take the next step forward, right? There are multiple steps along the framework that we can take, and we are talking about the first few initial steps, right? Now, if you think about the corporate world, the world that we have spent a lot of time in, there's a lot of emphasis on strategy. There's a lot of emphasis on planning, because the idea is to ensure that we do not fail, right? Do corporations fail? Of course. Do ideas of corporations fail? Of course they do. Projects go under, they are cancelled because of lack of improvement or the success that they were expecting, right? But despite of that, there's a lot of emphasis on strategy and planning than execution alone. They do put emphasis on execution, but they try to make the plan bulletproof. And I think that is where large corporations cannot move fast, because they spend a lot of time on planning as opposed to execution. Smaller companies, startups are more nimble and agile, and they focus on execution and testing the market. And that is what entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs spend a lot of time on execution and test their hypotheses and test the market before they can finalize anything, because we all know a plan is meant to change. So you need to get wedded to your goal and not wedded to your plan, right? Now, I was listening to Tony Robbins this weekend. I spent almost 4 hours listening to one of his conferences as part of the mastermind group I am with Russell Brunson. Tony spoke about why entrepreneurs need to focus on execution. And he said, look, execution beats strategy any day. And he started taking examples of athletes. Now, if you think about athletes, NBA players, baseball players, football players, golfers, tennis players, all of these guys get paid pretty heavily, right? I mean, they get lot of monies. Now, why is that the case? And Tony was explaining that is because they focus on execution. They train their nervous system, they train their bodies, they train their minds through repetition to execute in any condition, in any situation, right? Their focus is only execution. Do they worry about strategy? Of course. They have coaches, they have managers who teach them how to play the game well, how to strategize, how to visualize. But then the players are trained more to execute than to strategize, because a lot of people can help them with the strategy, but they have to be on the field or on the ground, on the courts to play. And that is why they spend a lot of time on execution and training themselves on execution. Now, that is why they get paid a lot, because execution leads to results. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you should not strategize. You should just do whatever comes in your mind. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, yes, you need to have a strategy at a high level. You cannot define it to the nth degree and expect it to succeed, because you never know something until you execute. Now, I was trying to relate or connect the dots between what Tony said and what I had read in the Go Giver book, written by Bob Burg and John David Mann. And this book talks about 5 laws of stratospheric success, and the second law is the law of compensation. Now, the law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. In other words, your compensation is directly proportional to how many lives you impact. Now, if you think about that in the corporate world, the CEO on the top always get paid the most. Now, why is that the case? Now, is the CEO executing? No. The CEO and his VPs are putting a lot of strategies in place, ensuring the culture of the organization is right, ensuring they remove the roadblocks. The mission of the higher you go in a corporate ladder, ideally, you need to serve the people more and more to ensure you remove the roadblocks and they can execute better, right? So even though they get paid well, their job is to ensure people who are execute pretty well. So it's kind of different in the corporate world, but in the entrepreneurial world, people who execute, they get paid more, just like athletes do. And that is why the focus and emphasis on execution, right? So I was trying to figure that out, how that works and all that good stuff. Now when we say, entrepreneurs need to execute and they will make more money based on this law of compensation or the execution, that is because they're going to impact more lives. The solution that they are solving is to a problem that a lot of people face, right? The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. The larger the impact the solution has to a problem, the more money you make, right? So the law of compensation works very well in the entrepreneurial world, and that is what Tony was talking about as well in his seminar. Okay. Now, for us at the stage where we are at today, where we are trying to build our business, or maybe we are trying to find our passion and we are trying to find a purpose in our life, we are discussing simple steps of how we can execute and start putting rituals and habits in ourselves so that we can, ensure we can do something on a daily basis. We can work on our passion, and which will eventually become a business on a daily basis, so that we execute there well, and we form a habit, and we identify and we take action, right? So that is what we are trying to do there. Now, Tony Robbins also mentioned about something else. He said, execution is key, but complexity is the enemy of execution. Okay? So we have to keep it simple, especially for people like us, who might be working or having a job, and we are trying to find something in our spare time, or we are trying to, go full-fledged into a startup business or a business environment, right? But we are still getting started. We are not there that we want to, where we already achieved our financial freedom, right? We are trying to grow. We are growth-focused entrepreneurs, and that's why we are huddling here together on this podcast, right? So if that is the case, right? If complexity is the enemy to execution, then what are we trying to do here? We're trying to do simple things. First, to form the base foundation to ensure that we can build on it. If the foundation is not strong, we will not be able to build on it. Even if we do, because the strong foundation is not strong, when we face adversity, when we face challenges, the entire building may crumble, right? Because it cannot withstand the harsh winds of challenges. The other thing that Tony Robbins mentioned in his seminar was that, the businesses that are built during adversity, during challenging times, last longer. Okay? And he talked about a statistic. He said out of the Fortune 1000 companies today, 60% of the businesses that exist today out of the Fortune 1000 companies, they were built during adversity. Now we are going through a very challenging time, this COVID-19 time, this pandemic time, which is a very severe adversity to a lot of people, right? But if this is the time where you focus on yourself, focus on your passions, and trying to find your purpose in life and build something now, chances are that you will be able to survive and thrive the business much more than businesses that are formed when everything is going well, right? So something to remind yourself about. So this is a good opportunity, if you look at it that way, to start putting the foundational blocks, to start paving the road towards transforming yourself so that we can all together achieve our financial freedom. Okay, so think about it that way, right? That is why we are trying to put these small habits. We are trying to do this 30-day challenge. We're trying to do something together so that we can, we can start building the basics and start putting the right basics in place. And guys, if you feel uncomfortable of doing these things daily, right? We discussed about 4 ways of how to remind yourself and how to create an environment around yourself to ensure that you do these things daily. We're talking about 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes is not a long time, guys. Come on, right? If you cannot put 15 minutes a day for 30 days in a row, how will you run a business? Think about it. Okay? Think about it. And I'm sure you can do it. I have complete faith in you guys and your ability to do it. And I'm trying to do the same, right? I'm doing this podcast every day to keep not only you guys inspired, but to continue to inspire myself. Because I feel obligated that if I'm trying to inspire you, I need to be inspired as well. I cannot give something that I don't have. So I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying to stay inspired so that I can pass it along and we can all grow together. And if you believe, if this resonates with you, if you think there is someone else who would benefit from listening this podcast, please share this podcast with them. You're only going to add value to them, right? And remember, law of compensation is directly determined by how much value you provide to others, how well you serve others, how many lives you impact. Dollars will come, money will come as long as you provide value. And businesses based on value, the businesses that are value driven last longer. They always do. You can look at history. Value driven businesses always last, and they survive and they thrive and they last longer. So remember, you can do this. If you're on the 3-day challenge, continue listening, continue reading, continue documenting what you're learning and reading about, so that you can keep a journal for yourself and see the results of this at the end of 30 days and what you have learned. Hopefully this will get you closer to your purpose and finding your passion as well. Remember, you have unlimited potential. You can do it. Until next time, take care.